Sassy Stuff. This is Georgia and Molly. We are getting you ready for the 2025 college football season. This is a start to our series where we are going to be going over every team's schedule and what we think it is going to look like, their wins and their losses, and our predictions. Today, we are doing Molly's favorite team, Texas Longhorns. And let's just dive into this. I mean, Texas has some really high expectations to live up to this season.
Yeah, I feel like just like their opening game alone is Ohio State. And so obviously that is August 30th opening weekend. Game day is going to be at the game. We're all really excited. I am still trying to figure out a way to get a ticket, if I'm being honest. But they are playing August 30th at Ohio State, 11 a.m. Central Time. I kind of I'm looking forward to this for many reasons because this is such a big game for both teams. Both teams are working with new quarterbacks. They're working with honestly brand new teams. Like this last draft class slash transfer portal was kind of crazy. I feel like everybody left. Like it's a whole new program for both of these people, both of these teams here. However, a high stakes season opener against the Buckeyes, who eliminated Texas from the 2024 CFP. Both teams are expected to be top contenders for this year's CFP. The prediction that we have seen online, they are operating at a loss on this one for Texas. But once again, I just don't think this is a fair assumption, honestly, on either side because it is a brand new team. I think we're working with Arch Manning. Hello. That's football royalty right there. Like, that's just an automatic win, in my opinion.
I mean, the Mannings have talent pouring out their wazoo. So, you can't underestimate him. I am excited to see how he plays when he is QB1. Texas has been doing really good in the offseason with recruiting. Obviously, they have huge NIL, which is a very big shiny star for a lot of kids. I really like that they've been dabbling in the South recently with their recruits. They got Corey Wells, who is 6'5", around 300 pounds from Mississippi. He's going to be on the defensive line. Dylan Berrymon from Monroe, Louisiana. So they definitely are like building. They got some big boys coming in. So as a big defensive girly, I love seeing these big boys coming into a team. So they have Quintravion Wisner. He averaged 4.7 yards per rushing on his way to 1,164 yards season last year. He caught 44 passes for 311 yards. He was not running back one last season, but with injuries, did end up getting to play.
Mhm.
For what I've seen, I think he's going to be a very dynamic part of the offense as well with Arch. I think those are going to be a really good duo right there. The scariest part of off seasons is everything can look really good, and then that first game, you're like, "What the heck is going on?"
Well, and I think too, the biggest issue that Quinn had, I think, with Texas was his offensive line. I mean, especially towards the end there, when they got into playoffs, their offensive line just had so many errors. And so I think, I'm so happy about their defensive side, but I'm really, really excited to see how they mesh well with Arch and especially when, you know, I think Arch does his best when he's on the 1 yard line. And so I think there's a lot of, I don't know if maybe it's just he performs really well under pressure, which is honestly what Texas needs after what we've been through the last 2 years. So, like you just said, though, everything could look great preseason. We could get into game one with Ohio State and somebody get injured or somebody chokes. Who knows? We have no idea. We're just gonna have to get through this first game. I think that is the most important game of the season, in my opinion. And I think it's going to tell us a lot about how Texas is going to operate throughout the season. I mean, right after Ohio State, they play San Jose State. I mean, come on, they're predicted to win that. They play UTEP the following week after that. That's a win. They're playing Sam Houston September 20th. That's also predicted to be a win. However, there are a couple SEC matchups here in October, which I'm really excited about. That's when we get into some really good play. October 4th, they play Florida, their SEC opener on the road. They're going to be in Florida. I think this is going to be a fun game for me because I think Florida is just such a tricky team. I feel like we don't really know. This is just them across the board with athletics. They're very sneaky. I could see this being a really big game for Texas. I think, ultimately, this is Texas, in a way, has a young team right now. And so I'm excited to see how they play in conference more so than I care about any of the other games. I feel like all those other games are kind of warm ups for the SEC conference, which I'm excited about. But obviously, getting through Ohio State, that's going to be like the probably the hardest game of the year. Right after Florida, they play Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. That is like my favorite week of the entire year. Like every single day leading up to that, I have some sort of tradition of doing something just like so Longhorns coded. Oh, I love it. But you know what? All of these SEC matchups that they have in October, they're predicted to win. So I'm kind of like, I think this might be Texas' best year.
Yeah, I will say their schedule is a little bit more difficult than it was last year. So I
Yeah.
am curious to see how they do through that because I feel like last year, like, welcome to the SEC, here's a cupcake schedule. Um, so I'm excited to see them, play some teams that are performing a little bit better. Let's just go through and you give me your predictions though. So Texas versus Ohio State. Who do you got?
Texas.
Texas. Okay. I
Yeah.
have Texas losing this game. I think Ohio State's just going to be on such a high. The only thing though is Ohio State had a lot of guys drafted.
Mhm.
Um, am I rooting for Ohio State? Never. I'm always rooting on their downfall.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, definitely. I would love to see Texas win this game, but I do have them losing this. Texas versus SJSU, W, obviously.
W.
Yeah.
W.
UTEP, W.
W.
Versus Houston, W. Now Texas versus Florida. I am a
W.
huge I'm a huge DJ Lagway fan. I'm gonna be honest. That kid, especially like Florida's gonna be a good team this year. I don't knock on
Anyone
wood that I did.
watching that is actually placing money on these bets on this, don't listen to Georgia on this one. You will lose your
Okay,
money. I'm telling you, they're not going to lose to Florida.
I have them winning. I have them
Okay.
winning. Yes,
Okay.
I have them winning, but I
Good.
just think it's going to be a close game.
Okay.
And I think Florida's going to put up a gritty fight. DJ Lagway is phenomenal. I could see him winning a Heisman.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, I would love Florida to come out of the gate swinging, and if they could beat Texas, like what a high that would be on. We'll cover
Hmm.
that in our Florida segment though, because we don't want to get too much into that. Texas versus Oklahoma,
Win.
win. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Easy.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
saw
seen
how they
anything.
played last year. Win.
Man, not worried about that for Texas.
Yeah.
Texas versus Kentucky. Win.
Win.
Yeah. Oh, Texas versus Mississippi State. We'll talk about this in Mississippi State segment, but those poor babies. Texas is
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Texas versus fifth year quarterback Diego Pablo Vandy.
I think they're going to win. I think Vanderbilt was such a weird team last year because it should have never been as close as it actually was for Texas. Same with obviously, as a Bama fan, Vanderbilt is definitely just an interesting team to play. So I think this is going to be a good game. I do, but I don't know. We're operating with a new team this year, so I could say that and be completely wrong, but I do think that Vandy last year just had such a flow going. Like every game I watched was it felt like Hollywood. Like it felt very like effortless, put together. Like there's like I watched the Bama game and when Bama and Vandy played, and I just was watching it and I was like, this has to be a movie. Like that, like it was honestly so well played. It was trippy. I'm gonna be honest. So I think
It was a horror film for me. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was definitely a movie for sure of some sort for every genre. But I do think Vanderbilt, and I mean props to their coach. Like this is kind of where it comes down to like their coaching staff. If you can play a game that looks that effortless against a team like Bama and even Texas, like even like they were really close to Texas. That score was way too close to my liking. I just props to their coaching staff because that had to have been them. But I do think it's going to be a good game. I mean, I think the best game is following right after Vanderbilt, which is going to be Georgia.
with a big
That's
fail.
I am predicting a win for Georgia this year because I think we don't have the same
Well, you're
quarterbacks
predicting a
anymore.
loss for Texas.
No, 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 a win for Texas for against Georgia.
Okay.
I think if we can beat Ohio State, we can absolutely beat Georgia. And so I think that's where this Ohio State game is going to say a lot about how Manning plays, how their O line plays. However, why I think they'll win is that they're coming off their off week, so they're going to have a 2 week rest to kind of like get back into their momentum, depending on how their game with Vanderbilt goes. I hope it's a win. And I think they're just going to be able to come out of the gate swinging for Georgia. So I think this is their moment to kind of reclaim last year. I think last year was just so tough, both of those games, and there were so many errors made in those games last year that were not made in any other game for Texas. Like specifically with Georgia, just like the worst errors were made. And so I think this is going to be a good one. Obviously, everybody on game day is their prediction is a loss. But I'm, a diehard Texas
Yeah,
fan. I think that we're going to have an undefeated season. So, not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying I think that's what's going to happen.
yeah, I feel like as a football fan, you should always come into the season being so delusional that your team is going to win by 500 points every single game. And then after that first game, you cry yourself to sleep. um, with Georgia, we'll hit on this more in the Georgia segment. I keep saying that. This is our first segment, so there's so much that we could talk about, but we don't want to cover everything too much. But Georgia has had a weird offseason. We've seen the headlines, we've seen the talk, we've seen what's going on. And that itself makes me think, okay, Texas has a chance,
Mhm.
but I think Kirby Smart can outcoach Sarkisian every day. Not that Steve Sarkisian, great coach, love Sark. I do think that Kirby Smart just knows how to outcoach him and get under his skin. Like I think because they work together, like they did, like he knows how to get under his skin, and so I am predicting that Georgia hands Texas another welcome to the SEC loss. Um, but after that, they play Arkansas. Poor Arkansas. Texas is winning that one. And then Texas versus Texas A&M.
Oh, I think Texas all the way. I mean, that's just like a dumb question at this point. I'm so biased at this point. It's like I think Texas is going to win everything. I honestly think Texas is going to be the SEC champion this year. I genuinely do. I have full hopes in this. And I think they have the talent they have the talent to be a CFP contender. And so I need them to just like stay on it. They have the NIL money, they have the talent, they have the coaching staff. And to each their own on Kirby Smart versus Steve. But I think Steve is a great guy, and I think he's doing very well with Texas. But I think overall, like this whole season outlook with Arch Manning stepping into the quarterback role, Texas enters the 2025 season with high expectations, and so this combination, like I just said, of talented rosters, coaching, Manning's leadership, and the Longhorns just as complete contenders for the SEC and CFP. Like I really think that this is going to happen. But I do think currently the projections from game day, from all sorts of sources, has been a 10-2 regular season record, which is a reasonable expectation for this team. I just I think it's going to be an undefeated season. I'm going to feel good
I
about it too.
I have mine 10-2. I'd
Mhm.
love to see a 9-3, just with the hater in me. Um,
And where is Bama?
anyways,
Where's Bama? Let's just say that.
100 games winning
I mean,
streak.
yeah, I can't with this girl. She's so delusional. But I think if they can get through Ohio State, I think they're going to be fine. I think it really just depends on this Ohio State game, and I think it's really going to set the precedent for their whole entire season. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be such a great season for Texas. I'm excited to see. It's like the rebirth of Texas. Like I'm so excited to see this year for them. I'm going to try to make it to as many games as I can personally. But I don't know. You guys let us know what you think in the comments about Texas. I mean, horns up all day. I don't want to see any haters. But I'm curious as to see what you guys think about this season. Do you think it's going to be a 10-2? Do you think they're going to be undefeated? Do you think Vanderbilt might sneak in and steal the day? You guys let us know in the comments. We love you. We appreciate you. Subscribe, like, and follow, and we will see you on the next one.